Investors should invest only in what they know a lot about. They should not listen to me. They should not listen to anybody. Hot tips will ruin you.
Die Geldmeisterin. Der Finanzpodcast. Mit Julia Kistner.
Und mit Investmentlegende Jim Rogers, der einst 1985 den Wiener Kapitalmarkt wachgeküsst hatte und aktuell das Börsenparkett meidet, denn es kommen sehr, sehr schlechte Zeiten auf uns zu, sagt er. Aber hört ihn am besten selbst zu. Hello, do you hear me, Jim?
Ah, Julia, hello.
Nice to hear you. Warm welcome.
It's been a long time. Are you in Vienna?
I bought 10 years ago a farm.
I know.
And it's just about 25 kilometers from Vienna. And you?
Okay. Yes, I'm still married. I'm still happy. My children are happy. We're all happy. We still love Austria.
Yeah, Austria is now celebrating the stock exchange, the 251st anniversary. And they are really waiting for you that you lead to a firework. Right now, since the leading index in Austria has lost year-to-date more than 20%.
Well, Julia, that's nearly every stock market in the world is down a lot. It's not just Vienna, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And did you have time now to travel a little bit and to see opportunities also to invest?
I don't know if I have any opportunities, but let's talk. You can ask your questions and we will see, okay?
Almost 1 year ago, we were talking about your investments, and this was before Putin was invading the Ukraine.
Yes.
I was wondering about your investments. You told me that you bought a share of a coal mine in Indonesia. You would invest in uranium, and you would avoid expensive stock exchanges like USA and Austria. Did you have a glass fair?
I learned it. I read Austrian magazines. I learned it from Austria.
No, be honest. Did you have any signals?
Well, Julia, sometimes I get it right. I make many mistakes, but sometimes I get it right.
Okay. And you are still invested in coal and uranium and so on, or did you pass it over to the next?
No, I still have coal. I still have uranium. Yes, I do. It looks like the world is going to need more uranium and more coal, because, well, you know why.
Mm-hmm. 1 year ago, you just were afraid that you couldn't turn on the light. Do you think it has more? It is more dangerous right now than 1 year ago?
Yes, but I see your lights are on. Yeah. I see you have electricity. I have electricity.
Yeah.
I'm in China right now, but they have electricity in China. Mm-hmm. So yes, the world is certainly more dangerous. I'm afraid sometime in the next 2 years, things are going to get much worse again. Mm-hmm. At the moment, there is a lot of pessimism around in the world. And normally when there's a lot of pessimism, something happens and people get excited again. So I don't know what will happen, but if something happens, as an example, this is not a prediction, but an example of something that could happen. If there were peace in Ukraine, everybody would say, hooray, hooray, and assets would go up. That is not a prediction. I'm just saying if something good happens, and usually when there's so much pessimism, something happens to cause a big rally. Mm-hmm. So I certainly expect at least one more rally in the markets. That may be the last rally if it happens that way. But we're getting close to the end. We're getting close to some very bad times.
Is it the point you were talking to me, I think, 10 years ago, where you said you keep your dollars until it is really crashing and then you will buy gold? Are we already at this point?
I still have a lot of U.S. dollars. The U.S. dollar is going to get overpriced. The U.S. dollar might turn into a bubble if things get really bad in the world, because people do not know what else to do. Mm-hmm. Except the U.S. dollar. Mm-hmm. The U.S. dollar is got huge problems.
Yeah.
The U.S. is the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, but for historic reasons, people still think the U.S. dollar is a safe haven. Mm-hmm. It's not, but people think it is, so I own a lot of U.S. dollars. Sometimes it's going to get overpriced, and sometimes it might even turn into a bubble if things get really bad in the world. At that point, I will have to sell. I don't know what I will do with my money then. I do own gold. I do own silver. I have not bought them in over a year, but I will buy again if they get really depressed, because when we have serious problems in the next few years, everybody will go to gold and silver. Julia, I'm an old peasant, and all of us old peasants, we know that when things get bad, we want some gold in the closet.
Yeah.
We want some silver under the bed. We want some gold and silver. So I have some gold and silver. I will buy more gold and silver, but I don't know when.
But I prefer a man who lives and gives expensive jewels.
So it's not time right now already because of the dollar being the only asset almost.
Well, some assets, some commodities have gone up. Agriculture, oil. When you print a lot of money, the way you protect yourself is you own assets that go up with inflation. Mm-hmm. And the things that go up, property does not go up, but wheat goes up. Mm-hmm. Real assets go up. Mm-hmm. And you still have your sugar?
Yeah, I have it. The sugar cube, I have it. I still have it, yeah.
You're going to be rich. You're going to be rich someday.
So I just looked at your Ricky index and I noticed that it performed really nice. So you're also very bullish on agricultural commodities or commodities in general?
Yes, I would not buy them now because if some good news happens, if there's peace in Ukraine, that is not a prediction, but if something like that happens, commodities will go down for a while, then I will buy more. Commodities have been very strong, so I like to buy when things are weak, not when they are strong.
Yeah, that's why you're in China right now?
No, I'm in China to be making some speeches, but in China, they make everybody quarantine. Travelers to China must quarantine a long time.
Mm-hmm. And you just make speeches, or are you also interested in the China? I mean, you always have been a pioneer on investing in China. Are we still in the Chinese century, or is there something going wrong?
Well, I don't see anybody else in the 21st century except China. Mm-hmm. But, Julia, America was the most important country in the 20th century.
Yeah.
But along the way, America had many problems. Civil War, depression, many depressions, murders in the streets, massacres in the street. We had many problems, but we became very successful. Mm-hmm. China will certainly have problems, but I don't see anybody else. And when you see problems in China, think about investing.
Mm-hmm. So you think about investing right now?
I always think about investing, and yes, I think about investing.
In China, I mean.
If I find something new in China, I will invest, yes.
Mm-hmm. Where are they strong?
The Chinese have a word which means disaster and opportunity are the same thing.
Really?
By the way, the Koreans have the exact same symbol, and the Japanese have the exact same character. Uh-huh. They pronounce it differently, but it's the same character. Disaster and opportunity are the same thing. We don't have that word in English. Mm-hmm. We haven't been around as long as the Asians. So if you find, the virus has caused disaster, but some things I am looking at airlines, entertainment, travel, things where the virus has caused problems. I'm not investing yet, but I am looking at things that have been hurt by the disaster.
Mm-hmm. These are the sectors which are hurt worldwide.
Very smart, yes. Whenever there's a disaster, there might be an opportunity.
So are you also going to Europe right now?
No, but I have invested in Uzbekistan recently.
Yeah.
Uzbekistan is one of the old Soviet republics.
Yeah.
It was ruined by the Soviets. But now there are new people, and they're doing the things that I would do to make an economy sound. So I've started investing in Uzbekistan a little bit. I am looking at Cambodia a little bit. I have not invested in Cambodia yet. But most places will be hurt badly. You know, if America has a problem, if Europe has a problem, everybody has a problem. So it's hard to find someplace. But Uzbekistan would be okay, maybe. Cambodia would be okay. So I am looking. I am looking at places that other people are not looking. That's how I found Austria 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
At this time, you were investing in shares, but in Cambodia or Uzbekistan, you are buying directly...
Buying stocks in Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Not in Cambodia yet, but I will. But I am buying stocks in Uzbekistan, yes. A few, a little.
And what can you buy there?
Uzbekistan is a huge, very big country.
Yeah.
It has a lot of natural resources.
Yeah.
It has fantastic tourist potential. It is one of the great tourist potential in the world. I've been to Uzbekistan a few times. It is magnificent. Nobody ever goes there, but that will probably change in the future. You know, many people did not go to China once. Now many tourists go to China. I think many tourists will discover Uzbekistan in the future. And natural resources, agricultural, natural resources, oil, gas, metals, everything.
In Europe, the prices went down, or the PE ratios, but there's still no opportunity in the real market. The companies are not interesting, or?
No, I haven't given up on Europe. No, I'm sure I will be buying more European shares in the future.
Yeah.
But right now, I am still worried about the problems the world is going to have in the next few years. There may be a big rally, as I said. I am not so many things short. Yet. No, but I don't see enough reason to buy a lot of Austria, Germany, anywhere in Europe yet. I will always invest in Europe.
And what are you doing with your Russian investments? You always have been keen on Russia in the last few decades, or in the last decade, let's say.
I am not investing in Russia now, Julia, because, I'm an American.
Yeah.
So I am not investing in it. I would like to.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
I have learned that when there's a war, if you invest near the end of the war or after the war, you will do well. But I cannot invest in Russia now. I cannot invest in Ukraine. But
But what are you doing?
It probably will be good soon.
Yeah, but I guess you have the same problem like we have, who had Gazprom or Aeroflot shares. You also had Russian shares, and did you just keep them, or these ADRs, or what are you doing with them?
I cannot sell them. Everything is closed.
Yeah, okay.
No, I have them.
Yeah.
I have them, but Julia, someday the war will be over.
Yeah.
Someday Aeroflot will fly again.
Yeah.
Someday people in Russia will fly to London, Tokyo, someplace, Vienna.
Yeah.
But right now, no.
Okay.
But someday they will be okay again.
So you just said there's much coming, also problems. And what are the main dangers in the near future?
There's a lot of pessimism right now. Something will change. There'll be a big rally. But eventually we're going to have a very bad bear market because you remember 2008, we had a problem because of too much debt. Julia, since 2009, the debt everywhere, it's gone up a lot, even in China. Even China has a lot of debt now. So the next time we have a bear market, it's going to be the worst in my lifetime. It has to be, because the debt is so much worse everywhere in the world, even China.
How do you make then provisions for your two daughters and your wife?
Yeah, they will own my shares someday, unless they die before I do, which I doubt. No, they will own my shares someday, and I hope that someday they say, oh, he was very smart. Look at these shares we own.
Okay.
I hope that's what they say.
What about properties? You always wanted to buy an Austrian property, and you always said it's too expensive. Right now in Europe, the prices come a little bit down of the properties. So you're looking for property already, or is there also not time right now?
Not time for me. I would expect before it's over. When I told you, when we have a very bad time, many assets will go down a lot, including property in Austria. Maybe I will buy your farm.
No. I'm also a peasant and have gold.
Very good. Keep some gold, keep some silver.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
So to summarize, what is your focus on investment right now?
Caution, watching. Mainly watching to see where the opportunities will be, to see where new opportunities are. I told you about Uzbekistan, I told you about Cambodia, but those are small. I am looking and waiting for opportunities. I know there will be opportunities again. I know when we have more problems, there will be opportunities.
And do you see anywhere already the bubbles? You talked about a little bit, but where do you see the bubbles right now, except the housing bubble, or is there no housing bubble?
Well, bonds are certainly a bubble. Bonds have never been this expensive in the history of the world, anywhere. Europe, America, Japan, everywhere. Bonds have never been this expensive in world history. So that's a bubble. It has to go down. Central banks were crazy, so we have a bubble in bonds. We have a bubble in property in some places, Korea, New Zealand, some places. Property is a bubble. It's starting to go down in some places, but it's still very overpriced. Shares were some bubbles. I mean, Apple, Amazon, Tencent, Samsung, some stocks were forming a bubble. That's starting to break, that bubble. The only asset that is cheap on a historic basis are commodities. I mean, silver is down 65% from its all-time high. 65%. That is not a bubble. Gold is down. Sugar is down many percent. Commodities are still the only asset that I know that is still cheap on a historic basis. But many other things were bubbles, are still bubbles, and when those bubbles break, that will be the time to buy.
Anyhow, it's still too early to go to commodities, because if the war would be over in Europe, it would go down then.
If the war ends, and that's not a prediction, but if it does, oil will go down, grain will go down, wheat, all grains will go down. These things are up because of the war. If the war ends, they will go down. But Julia, that's when you should buy again.
Okay, so I should invest a little bit right now, and then I should wait until the war is over.
I am waiting. I have some. I'm not selling, but I'm waiting.
To get back to the bonds, as you said, there's a bubble. But now the interest rates are rising and rising. What is your opinion? How long will this go that the Americans and the Europeans will raise the interest rates?
Julia, in the 1970s, we had a lot of inflation. You were not old enough to remember the 1970s, but we had a lot of inflation. In the 70s, we had inflation, and they started raising interest rates. They had to do something about inflation. Treasury bills, United States government treasury bills, were yielding 21%. 21%. That is not a typo. 21% they went to kill inflation. It worked. They killed inflation. But interest rates to 21%. Well, you know where interest rates are now.
Now.
I mean, I know when they will go much higher because the inflation is not finished. And so interest rates will go before it's over, not every day, not every week, not every month. But before they can kill inflation, interest rates will go a lot higher. Inflation is worse this time than it was then because it is deep-seated.
So it's not a good idea to lock in now the 5% of the treasury bills, but because it's still getting higher.
Yes. If you can get a mortgage, you should lock it in. If you can borrow money, you should lock it in.
Yeah.
But you should not lock in the yield.
And are you invested, as you talked about Apple, Alphabet, and so on? They really came down, but it's not enough for you.
Not yet. Not yet.
What will be the correction for the S&P 500, or in which direction could it go?
I don't know. In bear markets, and as I said, there's a lot of pessimism now, so something may cause a big rally. But in bear markets, many stocks go down 70%, 80%. Many companies go bankrupt, in 1999 and 2000. Things like Amazon went down 80 or 90%. Amazon is still here. It didn't stay down. But no, good companies, popular companies go down a lot in big bear markets, 60, 70, 80%. That's everything goes down a lot in a big bear market.
You are a stock picker. You're not buying indices in such situations.
Not at the moment, but I certainly will if I find something. Yes, I would. Well, I own a few Japanese indexes because the Bank of Japan buys Japanese indexes, and he has more money than I do. He's going to buy indexes. I own a few, not many. I'm not buying now. But no, for the most part, I'm not doing any indexes. But I will if the time comes.
So to keep a lot of cash is also risky or expensive because you have the inflation. So what are you doing with your money until you find an opportunity?
Well, I do own U.S. dollars, as I said.
Yeah.
I own the U.S. dollars in short-term paper earning interest. Yes, of course, I'm not learning much interest, and inflation is bad. But, Julia, it's better to earn 3% a year than to lose 10% a year. So, in the meantime, I have a lot of U.S. dollars.
Okay.
That's the main currency. I have some Chinese currency. I have some euros, but mainly it's U.S. dollars.
An investor should stay on the line and not really be too active right now. Or?
That is correct. But I will say to you, Julia, what I have told you before, investors should invest only in what they know a lot about. They should not listen to me. They should not listen to anybody. Hot tips will ruin you. Everybody wants a hot tip, but hot tips will ruin you.
Yeah.
So only invest if you want to survive and if you want to make money. Only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. All investors. Do not listen to hot tips. Stay with what you know.
You said diversification is important.
No, diversification is something that stockbrokers came up with so they would not get sued. If you want to get rich, you focus.
Yeah.
You put all of your eggs in one basket. You have to have the right basket, and you have to watch the basket very, very closely. But that's how you get rich. Diversification will not make you rich.
Okay, so the egg right now is the dollar in your case.
I guess that's the main egg right now, yes. Yes. I own some other things, but that's the main egg, yes.
What about cannabis? It's coming back right now because even Germany starts to liberate now. Are you still invested?
Yes, no, cannabis has a big future. Many countries will legalize cannabis. Many already are, as you say. The UN says they recommend that cannabis be legal. Yes, I'm sure it's going to be legal most places eventually. So yes, if you find a good company and the right management, there are good opportunities in cannabis.
Is there anything which you would never invest in?
Never is a long time. Well, I hope I'm smart enough not to invest in overpriced expensive stocks, no matter where they are. I hope that I'm smart enough not to get involved with something that is popular and very expensive.
Mm-hmm. And once you said you wouldn't be in crypto because it's just speculation, but you said you would like to have been in crypto, but you were too late. And now we have a new opportunity. Is it still not interesting for you?
Not interesting for me. Julia, I wish I had bought IBM in 1914.
Yeah.
I wish I had bought Volkswagen in 1948.
Yeah.
Yes, I wish I had done many things in my life, but I doubt if I will ever invest in these crypto things because governments, yes, crypto is fine as a trading. If you want to trade and you can trade, do it. I don't care. Most people don't care. But I don't think that governments will ever let crypto be money. America is working on putting currency on the computer.
Yes.
But when the American says, okay, this is U.S. dollars now, I don't think they're going to say, okay, this is dollars, but if you want to use that money, you can use that too. That's not the way governments work.
Yeah.
Governments want monopoly. Governments want control. So if they're just trading, fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think there'll ever be money. There will be government crypto money.
Yeah.
But it will be government money. It will be U.S. dollars. It will be Vienna. It will be Brussels, London. I don't think you will ever see government money, somebody else's crypto.
Are you invested in British shares, or what do you think about Great Britain? They have been a very important country many years ago. Then came America. Now is China. Is there any place for importance of London or of Great Britain anymore, or is it a lost country?
As you pointed out, I mean, Britain has been in decline for a long time. In the 1920s, Britain was the number one country in the world. There was no number two. It went bankrupt in 1976. Britain went bankrupt, and the IMF had to bail them out in 1976.
There was the story of Soros and its bet against the pound, 76.
But that was later.
This was later, yeah. This was in the 80s, yeah.
Well, but when I was there in the 70s, we did short the pound at one time. But yes, Britain was number one, and it is no longer number one. It has been bankrupt at least once. It may go bankrupt again. China is the next great country, if you ask me. The United States was the great country, the number one country. But the U.S. is now the largest debtor nation ever in the history of the world. No nation in world history has ever had as much debt as the U.S. So the U.S. was great and was number one. But it is certainly at the top. China will be the next. In 100 years, you could ask me, what's after China?
Okay, I will.
So let's meet here in 100 years, and I will tell you what is next.
I'm sure it won't be in Europe. What happens with Europe in the war between China and USA?
Well, it depends on where the war is. The American government has said, if the war is in Taiwan, U.S. military has, not in public, but has said they could not win that war. Look at a globe. You can see, how could America win a war in Taiwan? But if the war is somewhere else, America maybe could win. Obviously, we don't want a war. I don't want a war, certainly not. It would be stupid. All wars are stupid, but wars do happen. And if there's a war, it's not going to help anybody, including the winner. The people who won the Second World War did not win. Europe, Britain won the Second World War, they thought. But then they went bankrupt a few years later.
That's right. So is Europe therefore a good battlefield for both sides, because it's better than making the war in Taiwan?
Well, yeah, I guess if there has to be a war, it's better for it to be in Europe than in Taiwan. It depends on which side you're on. If it's China, it'll be better for it to be in Taiwan, because China would win. If it's in Germany, it would not be so good for China, not be so good for America, certainly not be good for Germany. It depends on where the war is. As I say, It'd be very difficult for America to win in Taiwan, but it'd be very, very difficult for China to win in the Caribbean. You know, it'd be very difficult for China to win in many places, just as it would be difficult for America to win in many places.
But I believe that it will be an economic war, since you see everywhere in Poland, you see it in Turkey, everywhere the Chinese, even in Germany, they bought now a hub in Hamburg. So it's more an economic war.
Some Western countries are deep in debt. Britain is deep in debt. So some countries will suffer. Italy is deep in debt. Some even Germany has debt now. Even Austria has debt now. So yes, the countries that have a lot of debt will not do as well as the countries that don't have much debt. North Korea does not have any debt. Nobody will lend money to North Korea. I'm not investing in North Korea, but I'm just saying the European countries have a lot of debt, some of them, and so some of them will have problems.
So they will sell themselves to China, maybe.
Yes, they will. Everybody, China will own many places eventually. You know, just like America wound up owning many places for a while. As America went to the top, they own many places. So it depends on the country. There are always some countries rising and some countries going down. So always in history, some people are rising and some people are declining. So you must find the countries that are rising, not the ones that are declining.
And this was, to summarize again for you, Uzbekistan and Cambodia.
Yeah, but these are very small. I mean, this is not Germany. No. This is not Japan. This is small places.
They won't survive without the rest.
Yeah, they need the world. But I mean, China will be rising. They have problems right now. But again, Julia, America had many problems. America became the top country in the 20th century, but along the way we had many problems. We still became the top country, but we had problems. Everybody has problems when they rise. Doesn't matter if it's a person or a family or a company or a country. Nobody goes straight up. Everybody has problems along the way.
Are you investing also in clean energy, or are you still on the fossil fuel side?
I own energy. I don't think I own any clean energy right now. It's still not economical unless there are subsidies. Wind power is great, but it's not efficient. It's not economical. It's not competitive unless it has subsidies. So for the most part, no. But if oil goes to $200 US, wind power will be competitive. And then solar power will be competitive. But right now it's not really competitive, so I don't own any. But if you know a really efficient company or two, yes, they will do well. But
Verbund, you have to look at Verbund. But this is really a small company. They just make wind power and water power.
Is it on the stock exchange?
It's on the stock exchange, the Austrian Stock Exchange. It's really.
But is it very expensive? Most of these stocks are very expensive.
The Austrians came down really much right now. Also because of the energy crisis, and also because in Europe, as you may know, the price of energy also always is the one which is most expensive.
I know.
It's called merit order system. And right now, of course, the fossil fuels went up. The wind energy power companies, they really have a fortune in earnings because they got the high prices right now and they don't have that high production prices. The only thing is with the taxes in Europe that since December they started to tax windfall profits, the ones you make extra. Yeah. And this is a little bit a problem. The regulation, I think this could get a problem. But if it's getting a problem, the prices of these companies will go down again. And then I will tell you, because I think it's a really interesting company.
Are the people smart people?
Yes, they are really smart people. Even though they are in Austria, of all these companies, they have a political background, of course. But this is a person which is really smart.
Okay, I will look. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
See, you should read Austrian magazine.
So green energy, they are not competitive already. So you're waiting until they are more competitive, or the prices are getting so high for energy that they are competitive. But then if you would have 200 per barrel, then you have again all the fracking oils.
Yes. Depending on price, there are always opportunities in something.
Yeah.
Yes. And some green energy, there will be eventually some really good companies that are very efficient. And they will make a lot of money no matter what. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, most of them need subsidies or they need very high prices for oil.
You always just look for really competitive companies which don't need the subsidies or high prices.
Those are usually better, yes.
Yeah. Now you're really good investor as well as Warren Buffett and Soros. Is there a new generation you're passing your knowledge over, or is there anyone you can admire where you said you can talk to and can get also something from them, or is there no new generation rise in the investment area?
Of course, there's somebody, but I don't know them. I don't go around trying to, I don't do that much mixing with other investors. Mm-hmm. But of course, there's some young people somewhere who are going to be geniuses.
To give a hint to the young readers and listeners, what will you give them on their way of invest?
Yes, things that are depressed, like sugar, will go up someday a lot. They always do. Sugar is down 70 or 80% from its all-time high. Mm-hmm. Someday it will have a big bull market again. Nearly everything someday has a new bull market again. North Korea will have a big bull market someday. Mm-hmm. Not soon, but someday. So especially things that are depressed. Uzbekistan will have a big bull market someday. Soon, I hope. If you find things that are depressed, they usually come back and have a bull market someday.
So a lot of young investors during the pandemic, they start to investing in shares, but just in tech shares. So this is no good way to invest.
If you invest in what you know a lot about, you will probably be successful. If you do not know a lot about something, do nothing. Wait. Mm-hmm. Wait until you find something that you yourself know a lot about. Mm-hmm. If you buy something and you don't know about it and it goes up, you don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. You don't know why you bought it. Mm-hmm. If it goes down, you don't know what to do because you don't know why you bought it. If you know a lot about what you're investing in, you will be successful.
Okay.
So just wait. Mm-hmm. Whether it is technology or automobiles or whatever it is, just wait.
And you have already written a lot of books. Which book would you start with?
There's some classic American books about investing that everybody should read, but they're old American. They're still here. They're still in print. But, The Intelligent Investor is a classic. Mm-hmm. It's a few decades old, but the lessons are timeless. Mm-hmm. These are lessons that everybody should know about how companies work, how stocks work. You need to know the basics. You need to do a lot of homework, a lot of research before you start investing. Mm-hmm. And only invest in if you know a lot about fashion, invest in fashion. If you don't know about fashion, don't invest in fashion. Just stay with what you know.
And I just thought of your own books. Which one of your books would you start with?
I guess the last one, Street Smart, is called Street Smarts. Mm-hmm. That tells a lot of things about investing, adventure. You know, I always wanted adventure, Julia. Somebody once asked me, why did you retire? And I said, because I wanted adventure. I want to have a lot of adventure in my life. So if you like adventure, read about adventure. And you will find investments if you read about adventure.
Yeah, that's right.
Because everything, there are possibilities for investing in something, no matter what it is, whether it's fashion or cars or technology, whatever it is. Adventure, if you know what you're doing. But don't invest unless you know what you're doing.
And to get to know more what's going on, you have to travel also. It's for an investor never good to stay just in Vienna.
Well, if you travel, you will learn a lot about. If you see the world close to the ground, you will learn a lot more than if you read the internet or television or something or magazines. If you see close to the ground, you will know a lot more about what's going on in the world.
Jim, this was again a really big pleasure for me to talk to you.
Thank you, and I hope to see you in Austria again someday.
Über aktuelle Börsenaufreger und Ereignisse berichtet Werktag für Werktag übrigens die kleine Podcast-Schwester der Geldmeisterin, die Börsenminute. Überall, wo es Podcasts gibt, auf YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Xing und auch auf www.geldmeisterin.com. Eine erfolgreiche Anlagewoche wünscht euch die Geldmeisterin und Julia Kistner. Und am Schluss noch der Disclaimer. An dieser Stelle wie immer der wichtige Hinweis, dass die Inhalte dieses Podcasts, der Videos und der Webseite geldmeisterin.com ausschließlich der allgemeinen Information dienen und die ganz persönliche Meinung der Geldmeisterin und von Julia sind. Es handelt sich keinesfalls um Investmentempfehlungen, Rechts- oder Anlageberatungen. Das Gesagte, Geschriebene und Dargestellte kann und soll auch nicht das persönliche Gespräch mit deiner Finanzberaterin ersetzen. Auch sind weder die Geldmeisterin noch Julia Kistner informiert darüber, wie es mit deiner Vermögenssituation ausschaut, deinen Bedürfnissen, familiären Umständen, deinem Finanzwissen, die Risikoneigung oder deinen Anlagehorizont. Anlegen erfolgt daher auf eigene Gefahr. Die Geldmeisterin und Julia Kistner haften nicht für Anlageentscheidungen, die aufgrund ihrer Medienbeiträge getroffen werden. Kurzum, für die Geldmeisterin und Julia Kistner war es immer ein Vergnügen, dich bei deinem Vermögensaufbau zu inspirieren. Auf deinen eigenen, persönlich richtigen Geldesel musst du schon selbst setzen. Viel Erfolg!